You're listening to Chai Across Generations. This is Shankar.
And this is Nikhil. This is episode 8 about mental health, generational support, and healing, which is the final part of our Intro to Mental Health series.
In the last two episodes, we've explored what mental health is and taken a look at stigma and self care. In today's episode, we're going to take a deeper look at the unique mental health challenges faced by each generation and how we can learn from and support one another.
Before we do that, we wanted to recap the top 3 takeaways and some closing thoughts from the previous episode to refresh your memory. Let's get into it.
Number 1, stigma. Generally speaking, there is a stigma around mental health in the South Asian community that shows up as a reluctance to discuss or acknowledge these issues. Mental health is as important as, or maybe even more important than, physical health, and it's important that we have conversations about mental health for the well-being of ourselves, our loved ones, and society at large. By expanding our understanding and curiosity about mental health to also encompass positive development and not just illness, we think we can mitigate the long-standing stigma around this topic.
Number 2, the role of family. The importance and pride placed on family is one of the hallmarks of the South Asian community, but it also creates challenges to talk openly about mental health. Historically speaking, admitting that one's family faces mental health challenges would have complicated the setup of arranged marriages. Many families also worry, what will others think about our family? And this may also contribute to a less open dialogue about mental health.
Number 3, self-care. Nikhil listed some great habits that he follows to support his mental health, such as exercise, being out in nature, deep breathing, meditation, and journaling. I endorse all of them because I practice them as well. I'd like to remind our younger listeners that deep breathing and meditation have a long history in yoga as pranayamam and dhyanam, and the place of origin of these practices is India. I do wish this was acknowledged more when it is used in the West. These practices are often culturally appropriated and used without proper attribution, or sometimes their origins are misattributed. Now, while these habits are all good practices to support mental health, as we learned, habits alone cannot solve everything. Recognizing the contributions of genetics and childhood environment to mental health means that healing from mental illness can require professional intervention through psychiatric care.
So now that you're all caught up, let's dive into the discussion around generational support and healing.
Biggest failure of our transition from a traditional learning model in South Asia before we got schools in this more Western sense of the word, that transition has not been accomplished well in the sense that we have really failed in teaching the younger generation how to use the most important instrument which is at their disposal, which is their mind. If we were to really think about redoing our educational system, don't you think that should be one of the most important things?
Yeah, I think so. That's a whole other episode, redesigning the educational system. But yes.
Because you've picked up this through your life experience, your wisdom to prioritize self-care, and I completely agree with you. It's the foundational sort of stone on which everything else stands, and if that falls apart, then everything falls apart. I completely agree with you that either meditation or reflection or taking a nature walk or seeing a trusted therapist, a counselor, having friends, journaling, all those things that you mentioned are very, very, very powerful, very useful. And Getting exercise, like you said, mind and body are so connected. Having a proper diet and paying attention to what we eat and making sure we sleep enough.
Mm-hmm.
These are such simple, basic things, but they are the ones that I see very often out of whack. And then it puts a very heavy pressure on the individual to